Martin, welcome to episode 75 of Illuminating Rounds. How are you doing?
Yeah, great, thank you. Yeah, but just been busy. Being retired is harder work than you think. Much harder
They
work.
don't even pay you for it either. It's,
No, crazy. And actually, that's not strictly true. I am getting paid for it.
okay. I was in Liverpool this week visiting some in-laws. So it's quite cold. It's quite cold in Liverpool. I don't know how Craig and those guys do it out there.
They're tough. They're tough guys.
They are tough guys. Yeah. I was in Southport, and I was telling you, the Southport has. I thought it was the longest pier in the world. It turns out it's not even the longest pier in Britain. So what do I know about piers? But
it's not even the longest pier in Liverpool, probably, is it?
It's very long, and I guess it
it's
depends
the second
on.
longest, just like in the UK. Yeah.
I would have thought it's all about where you measure it from. So, because it felt like it started a long way it felt like it started in the town centre, and you started walking out on it. It was that kind of a long thing, and the beach doesn't.
So what's the rules for getting onto a pier from a boat?
Well, you're the knowledge. You should be able to tell us. So we have to say a big thank you to Carl and everyone else who's chimed in with our rules mistakes. Absolutely fine to point those out. We make these rules mistakes so that you guys don't have to, and that's okay with us. So that's what I'm going to claim. This week we've been playing one of the scenarios from Hasmo, which we'll talk about next time. We've pretty much finished that one, but we'll go through it next time. Don't laugh like that, Martin. Yeah. Don't laugh like that. And the scenario was aptly called "Goodbye, Cruel World." Well, we'll find out who was saying goodbye. But today's one is our play-ins of setting the stage in the quarterfinals of the Illuminating Round tournament. Always a good one to compare 4 play-ins of that. Martin, do you remember playing setting the stage before? Was it you and I played before?
Yeah. You and I played the whole little sequence, I think. Because there's three together, isn't there?
I should mention this story now because this is a good example of bringing up your memory. We've just looking at scenarios to play for the next round, and you suggested playing Taking the Head. Was it Taking the Head?
Yeah.
And you said no, you've played that one, and I didn't. I had no knowledge. And you remembered not only who I played, but what happened in that scenario.
That's true. That's true.
And how, I mean, maybe because I've talked about that so many times. But that scenario was, I mean, is it Taking Heads? Was it Taking Heads?
Taking Heads, yeah. It's AP. I can't remember the number now. It's an action-packed one. Japanese, isn't it?
Yeah. And absolutely. So I played it an awful long time ago. I'll tell you how long ago I played it for you to.
Well, hang on. I could probably time. That was in Blackpool.
So it's the game I played against Trevor Edwards.
Yeah.
And it was the game that he should have been. Trevor's a much better player than I was. Played it 11 years ago, Martin. So I mean, I don't know how you remember that, but yeah, all he had to do was route a unit upstairs for the win, and he forgot. And I think you still remember his desperate cry, like, "Oh no, why did I do that?" I know because he's let me beat him. I don't know. That's a pretty grim thing, but yeah. So your memory of that was very good. So we're not going to play Taking Heads in the semi-finals.
I've got an outstanding memory of what I've played, and sometimes what you've played. What I don't have a good memory of is how to play it. So very often, if I play a game again a few years later, I make some terrible mistake, and I go, "Oh, do you know what? I just remembered I did this last time."
Yeah, it's like you see the world through fresh pair of eyes every time you play it.
Every time I wake up.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. So we're going to. We forgot to put the poll up last time for the action packs against. I forget now one of them. So we'll put that up, but we will talk a little bit about the next sort of brackets because we can carry on without that. We've also got the Patreon giveaway to do for the a random game log file that's been sent to us, and we'll pick that in a little while and show that as well. So plenty to talk about. Martin, should we talk about setting the stage?
Yeah, sure.
Journal 3, excellent journal, I think, from the scenarios point of view. 30 scenarios. I mean, this is why we missed the journal coming out yearly, and obviously why it doesn't come out yearly, because getting 30 scenarios play tested and everything is pretty impressive. Maybe what we could do is we could start a company up just producing scenarios that are fully play tested for MMP. I mean, that's an industry there.
And sell them to MMP.
Yeah, for pennies on the pound is what we'd get. However, we wouldn't do as good a job as Pete Schilling did on this one or many of his other scenarios. So set the stage is set in Russia, 1943. It's part of the. Was it a three game kind of campaign?
I believe so. Yeah.
Which you could kind of sort of string together. And you said that we did that again. No recollection. I assume we did, but it's best known for the ability for both sides to choose their forces secretly before the game starts. So I guess we should perhaps we could throw up a board and we can talk about the settings. So let's just do that for you.
Okay.
So I've got the board up in front of me. So you can see here we've got the map up, and effectively the victory conditions are that the Germans win by exiting greater than or equal to 45 victory points off the top of the map. Pretty hard to do. You get a fair amount of stuff, and they've got to do it also between. There's a couple of hexes, isn't there? You've got to do it between
33 Q10
Q10. Can you ping that
and
for us?
GG6.
GG6. Okay, so GG6 is that here? No. Let's zoom in.
That's Q10.
And then GG6 is going to be. Oh no, it's on the left-hand side, isn't it? Over here. Okay, so they're heading off over that side. Now the Russians get 10 squads, medium machine gun, and some concealment counters and some foxholes, and then they choose between OBA and the heavy machine gun to start with as one of the choices. They also choose between 245 double Ls anti-tank guns or a 45 double L and an 82mm mortar. And then they choose either 4 76L tanks or 76L tanks. So these are either the... that's hard for me to read these days now. I don't know what they are. Is it a KV-12? I don't know, I can't read it. Can you read that, Martin? My eyes are gone now. Too dark.
It doesn't happen. I've just got a photocopy here, so...
Anyway, they basically get the choice between slightly up-armoured tanks, or so these are the ones with 11 armour on both sides, 10 movement points, or the slightly lower armour, higher movement points, but with an 8-1 leader. They also get the choice between the minefields, and they get anti-tank minefields, they get some trenches, anti-tank ditches. So a whole bunch of stuff, and then also 4 support weapons, anti-tank weapons, DCs. So I thought maybe we should have a quick chat about what we think the Russians not necessarily should choose, because I don't think there's necessarily some bad choices here. Did you have any initial thoughts on the Russians' defence? So they're setting up, I think they're setting up in hexes, board 33 or 44, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to 7. So effectively on the top half of board 44 and all of 33.
They're KV1s and KV1S.
Okay, thank you. And if you're inside a building, the Russian units can set up HIP. The OBA will have 80mm if they choose it, with plentiful ammo and a pre-registered hex. And there's a slight hindrance as well for the dust. So that's what's going on. So what do you think in terms of, I mean, taking it one at a time, OBA or the heavy machine gun? What would you go with there?
Probably the heavy machine gun. I mean, the OBA is obviously very, very powerful, and of course you can have as you're defending, you can use it in the harassing fire, can't you, to sort of restrict the movement of infantry in a big area.
Yep.
I just think it's a 50 cal, isn't it? It's the it's a big weapon, and it's I suppose just that little bit more reliable. I mean, it even comes back on a 1 to 3, doesn't it? So it's even if it malfunctions, it's a 50-50 chance that it comes back.
Yeah, it's very
every
true.
time.
So I think
the Russian OBA, they've got I can't remember the exact number of black and red chits, but I mean they're almost like one of the worst in the system, aren't they? I think for
Yeah,
OBA.
the pre-registered hex and the plentiful ammo do push it a little bit in the OBA's
Yeah,
favour, I feel.
absolutely.
And I
Yeah,
think one of the ways the Russians can lose this is with a big swarm against two of the buildings in particular. So, because the alternative victory condition is if they don't get the 45 points off, they can win at game end by controlling 3 or more multi-location buildings.
yeah,
Obviously, we've got 3 that are very reasonably very close for the Germans to grab,
yeah,
and then there's 2 at the back as well that are
yeah,
potentially available. So the risk I think for the Russians is that big mass into, for example, the 2 buildings down here
yeah,
in this area, and then potentially with the reinforcements the Germans get is to grab this one. And I think that the OBA does a better job of defending against that than potentially a heavy machine
yeah.
gun, which
I mean,
can
and it's a telephone as well, isn't it? So it's not even a radio, a
right,
dodgy
yeah,
Russian radio. It's yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So I don't know. I would have. I think I prefer the OBA there, but I can see how the heavy machine gun is a good choice. But I guess it's a toss up. I think the downside of the heavy machine gun is we'll assume it's going to always get at least one shot, and we won't assume it will break on the double 6 because that's the equivalent of failing your radio contact roll. But
yeah,
if you just get the one, let's say it's going to be a down 2 shot, an 8 down 2 shot, with a 50-50 chance of it taking a rate of fire. At that point, it's a big target for the everything else that comes on,
yeah. That's
and
true.
one break and that's it. You're going to effectively
Yeah.
be out. It's hard to rattle away with that heavy machine gun.
It's very difficult to even move it in good order, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
heavy, yeah.
and it's going to be, I would have thought, fairly well set forward. I think that's the other issue with it because the Germans will be pushing forward. It's a weapon that you can potentially take back and use against the Russians.
It's true. That's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I slightly favour the OBA on that one.
I think you've convinced me, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I mean, yeah, the way we all draw red cards. I mean, let's be honest, it's not gonna be that much useful. I think, yeah, whether you take 2 anti-tank guns or the mortar and the anti-tank gun, I like the mortar as well as the anti-tank gun here. I think the 45 LL isn't great against the vehicles. It's good obviously against the half tracks that the Germans might bring on. But I think the mortar is potentially a little bit more useful. The rate of fire 3, and the argument that it could be set further back than potentially the heavy machine gun will do, is an option. Obviously, if you want to get flashy with things like spotted fire and things like that, you might be able to do that as well. So I would go mortar and the anti-tank gun there. And then in terms of the tanks, it's interesting because I think Dave Moresk, my opponent I was playing, I think he decided that effectively a hit, if I took the Tigers, a hit against either of these tanks is pretty much dead anyway. So taking the armor leader and the slightly faster tanks may have been slightly better choice. For me, I think I would go with the slightly better armor, just on the off chance that it saves me 1. But I don't know if I've got a strong preference there. Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, the one thing to bear in mind is the second group there, when you get 3 tanks, that's worth a lot more in actual exit points, I think, than taking the Tigers, isn't it? So, I mean, that's
Germans,
something to consider.
Yep. And they've just got the 75 Ls or the 50 Ls. So yeah, I mean, in that instance,
75 L is a very good gun, isn't it?
75 L, is that the 17 or is that higher than that? These are ones that we should know instantly.
Yes, it is 17. You were right. Yeah. I mean, that's a very good gun, isn't it? I suppose it's not a certain kill against some of the heavy tanks that the Russians might have.
No, that's right. I mean, I think so. You're looking at 6s against hull hits, but down to potentially 4s or so for the 3s for the turret hits and on the up armored tanks. Against like 9s for the under armored ones. So I kind of prefer the up armored ones, but again, I'm not sure how much of this is going to be a swirling fight and how much of this is going to be the Russians trying to, obviously, if you want to try and get around the back of Tigers, but you've only got 4, you're probably going to get outmatched in terms of numbers for the tanks.
Yeah.
So maybe for me it's just the up armored tanks, but that's that. And then obviously your choice of wire and anti-tank ditches and minefields and things like that. What 2 weapons wouldn't you take out of 2 light machine guns, 2 ATRs, a mortar, small mortar, and a demo charge? What wouldn't you take? What 2? The anti-tank rifles I think are very good against the half tracks.
I'm not sure how handy the demolition charges are.
Yeah, I agree.
In this situation.
Yeah.
Anti-tank rifles. I mean, I think this late in the war they're good for getting a 5 firepower infantry squad up to 6. You know, and
there's a half track. There's a few half tracks.
The half tracks they would be effective against the half tracks. Actually, that's true. A small mortar, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to take away a light machine gun and maybe the demo charge. I think, but I don't like demo charges in big open grounds like this where.
No, but light machine guns have fire lanes, don't they? And that would be one of the things that you'd be perhaps thinking of using it for in this.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and I mean there is a spot in CC10. If you look at CC10 here, maybe because obviously they're hip as well. So a hip squad here with a demo charge, or even one upstairs is quite a nice. It's quite a nice, nasty surprise if you like for that. So that's the Russian side. If we look at the German side, they kept 658 squads, and then they're choosing between either 4 tanks, which 2 are 50Ls and 2 are 75Ls, and these are the what are those? They're the Stug 3Gs, I think, and the Panzer. I think that's Panzer 3s. It might be a Panzer 2H. I can't quite tell from that.
I can see here. So we got the Panzer 3L or the Stug 3G.
Okay, so it's 4 of so it's 4. You get 4 of those.
2 of each of those. Yeah.
Yeah, or you get the 3 Panzer 4H. Yes, the 75L. They're quite nice. Or you get the 2 Tigers.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I mean, I think as you go through there, that there are less exit victory points as you go up to the higher quality tanks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something to balance against the power of those Panzer 6s.
Yep.
And I think, anyway.
Yeah, that's very true. So I was the Germans here and decided that I wasn't going to go for the exit victory points. I think the exit, to me, is so far ahead. You've got to jump through a lot of hoops to get that exit.
Sure.
But you kind of keep it in reserve. So I was happy to go with the Tigers for this one. And then you're going to pick up either the Assault Engineer Group, which is 3 838s with a flamethrower and a demo charge, or you pick up 2 838s, 2 548s, flamethrower, 2 light machine guns, and a demo charge. So it's basically the 9-2, or do you take an 8-1 and an 8-0? That's a tough choice.
Yeah.
Extra squad or a 9-2 leader, as opposed to 2 leaders. I mean, a 9-2 leader is very, very good, but they sometimes do get hit by snipers, which always feels. I genuinely don't remember what I took. I'll find out. What would you take?
I probably would go for the extra leader. I mean, kind of thinking that that 8-0 might be quite good carrying the flamethrower.
Yeah.
And I quite like, although the 838s are so powerful, and you lose one, but you get, so instead of 3 838s, you get 2 838s and 2 548s. You've still got 4 8 morale troops crossing that open ground to approach the first sort of farmhouse.
Yep.
And I think that might be more beneficial.
Yeah.
Especially as the range is better on the 548s, isn't it, than on the 838s?
Yep. It does feel like it's the risk reward on all of these, where you want to either take a more powerful, smaller force, or you take the bigger but slightly weaker force for each one of those. And so that suggests if you want to go for the exit points, take the things with more on it. And then finally on turn 3, the Germans pick up 3 half tracks with 3 658s, which is like a little assault squad, a little platoon that come on and try and mop up or do whatever.
And I think that's a little group for just driving off, if that works.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? Because you've got, it's not quite enough points, is it? You got Okay, I'm not going to add it up live here because
Yeah.
it's going to take me ages. But there's a chunk of points there, and they could
That's
drive
right.
straight off, couldn't they? Come on turn
That's
three,
very true.
virtually straight
It's
off.
very true. So we'll have a look at the map now. That so this is my game against Dave Moresco and the Germans. Dave defending with the Russians. As you can see, he's got everything hipped in the buildings, and so my approach was just to absolutely push forward into the two buildings on the left hand side, and then the idea was to use the half tracks to kind of fly in and maybe capture the middle building down here, and that was the plan. So I mean that's all it was.
Sounds like a good plan.
You can see I went for the 9-2 leader.
Yeah.
That was the thing, and I went for the Tigers as well. That was the thing. So let's have a look and see what happens. This really was the sledge. Oh yeah, I forgot to bring on the extra guys. This was because you get two. I did the same mistake as I did against Dave. You get two of those groups for the tanks. So you get either the 4, the 3, or the 2, but you get two groups.
Oh right, okay.
So
Right.
exactly what I did. Dave was very sporting and reminded me that I could have an extra set of tanks. So I was very grateful. I did that.
Yeah. So which two groups did you go for in the end? You went for the
I went for the 4.
Tigers.
And what I actually did was I rolled randomly.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Just because I don't think it gave a lot away.
Felt fair.
Yeah, but exactly that. So I went random. But also I wouldn't have known the difference. What? Just give me just give me a set of tanks and then I'll figure it out once I'm doing it. So that was the plan.
Right. I kind of feel when I'm in charge of tanks, it doesn't matter really which ones they are once they're burning wrecks. It doesn't really matter if it's a Tiger or a Mark II, really, does it?
That's very true. I figure that it's all a much. I don't think there's a wrong choice necessarily in those ones.
No, I think that's true.
Maybe at a very, very top level, it's very different. But anyway, so Dave reveals the wire. Straight away, I was like, I forgot about the wire. I thought this might be easier than it is.
Yeah. Doesn't look too difficult with all his force hip, does it?
No. Suddenly it starts springing up and, we're seeing other bits and pieces. So on come the tanks. As you can see, there's a 6 for
That's a lot of wire there, isn't there?
something. Can't remember what the 6 is for. Maybe it's smoke attempts, and then that was it. Some smoke attempts.
The thing is, that wire is really cheap because I think it's only costing one of the 30 points. They got 30 points to spend on 30 fortifications, haven't they?
Right. So here comes the shots.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's basically just going to push forward as best we can. So here's the 9-2.
With the heavy
machine gun. Yeah. So at this point, I'm pretty sad to see this, but I will say, in a way, the OBA would have been worse for me.
To be fair, the OBA landing down there, but I don't know where you'd have put the 7-0 leader.
It's very true. It's very true. This is a blocked line of sight. I can't remember if we just ignored it because I think there was too many counters there, and I think Dave hadn't realised that So that's fine. I don't think we let him take the shot there.
Okay.
And
nonetheless, it's revealed, isn't it? It's
exactly.
Still beneficial to you.
Exactly. And then we do have a line of sight down into my 9-2 from this guy.
Of course we do. It's long range, right?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing going on there. And a fairly happy turn for me for the first turn.
Yeah. A solid gains there.
Yeah. A nasty double 6 on my morale check against the heavy machine gun, but it's that the mortar opens up. I get a double 1, but and then followed up by a 6 on the improbable shot. So there's a few bits and pieces there. But this feels like an unfair fight, because there's so much that the Germans have in one area. And the Russians have to defend across a very, very broad range.
Yeah.
So the mortar's going to take some shots at the tanks. I'm always kind of happy when mortars do that. I don't tend to feel you're a little bit unlucky if you lose a.
Sure.
But it definitely stops them going crew exposed and things. So the Russians run some guys across.
Yeah.
We managed to take a few shots at them. There's another double one there as a critical hit from, I think it was the Tiger. I think.
We've got some dummies disappear. Was that a dummy?
Yeah.
Russians running in. That's quite interesting.
Yeah. The heavy machine gun. This is brave for the heavy machine gun. So the heavy machine gun gets acquired quite quickly, and he loses the leader. Loses the squad. Sorry, loses the squad.
Yeah.
Which is pretty grim.
It's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're risking the bogs going into the wire.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea is the tanks are just going to support the first.
And
push.
there's minefields there as well.
There are minefields, and of course, I got lucky on the minefields.
Yeah, of course.
Got lucky on this one, so everything went for me really on this one.
Everything's just piling in there, isn't it?
And and
he's got very little to stop you.
Exactly. Do you remember, often against you, where I'm struggling on the wire, and I just sit on the wire, and I break when I'm underneath it, I go back over the top of it, and it's just horrendous. This one, because there's just so much that the Germans have, even on the wire, they can kind of fight the Russians off from the buildings, and then you're using 6 or so tanks to support them. It's just too many for the Russians to cope with. So everything's coming across to defend. The tanks are coming on for the Russians up here. And then again I get lucky. I could have got unlucky against that shot there from the Delta tank from the Russians. I think Dave does a good job here of going CE and getting every advantage he can from everything. So in a way, he's kind of got his nice kind of setup here. He's got the tanks kind of protecting this area here. He just hasn't got the numbers. That's the problem for the Russians now. So in a way, I've just got to fight. Now I've got 6.5 turns. Five and a half turns. So
you're easily going to capture that second building, aren't you? But the third one's interesting.
Get lucky against the 2 tanks there. Keep the rate of fire, of course, and manage to turn the turret, push the Tiger right up for these guys.
And that Tiger's the one to go toe to toe with the Russian tanks.
I felt a little bit unlucky here, not getting anything against. You see, I got double 6 here against this squad in the open, the medium machine gun, which I really kind of needed to, in my mind, try and take out as soon as I could. We find another minefield here. The 9-2's getting hung up on the wire, but there's so many Germans here. It kind of felt a little bit. And this is kind of a criticism of ASO in a way that I've had, which is sometimes you not that you can break a scenario, because the scenario in theory is very balanced and you've got to just play for it, but it doesn't feel very sporting when you have a game like this where it's just you're massing everything against one flank, for example. I guess it is what it is. But you can see now we've got the half tracks now swarming this building. Now this little force here, I'm petrified of this. I can't work out what to do. I'm going to get these guys off. I don't know what to do. I'm under attack from the tank here. There's the mortar that's actually lost its crew. I don't know how I'm going to take this building at all. I'm really, really struggling with it. My guys are encircled here. Yeah. And I'm feeling like I'm just going to lose this. I just don't know. I'm going to somehow just not be able to take this building. But I go into close combat, and this is a terrible close combat to go into. I mean, if you look at this, there must be 2 squads and a leader or whatever concealed, and they're dummies.
Brilliant.
And I was like, it was like a desperation move. It was just a complete desperation move. So thankfully they were dummies, because those dummies had literally beaten me in my mind.
And all of a sudden it looks very likely that you're going to win this now, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah. Yeah, the medium machine gun can't come in here. The
leader's broken down there,
yeah,
isn't he? Yeah.
there's
A
some
few more Russians rushing in.
exactly.
Yeah. I'd be doing the opposite of rushing towards where this many Germans were destroying my comrades.
Yeah, I mean, it feels. I mean, at this point, and it's pretty much a given now that the Germans should
Yeah.
win this. So there's a little bit of manoeuvre. I send the half track just to interdict any of these guys that are potentially going to come back down again. But at this point, when we've got the tanks at the back of the Russians here, and I mean, to be fair, they repel the first attack.
Yeah.
9-2's now wounded, but still, it's a game that is pretty much over here.
So you've got the building on the right-hand side now, haven't you? In fact, you've got all the buildings you need now to win.
Exactly.
And there's no significant counterattack brewing, is there?
Yeah, my Tiger did get recalled here with a broken gun that didn't get fixed, but again, that was the game over, and Dave resigned. So in terms of dice rolls, I mean, I had, I think it was 5, 6 double ones. 3 of them were on the to hits. 3 were on the IFT. I mean, none of these were win changes and stuff like this. So, I did get 5 boxcars, but 2 of them were things like smoke attempts and stuff like that. It wasn't very meaningful. 1 morale check on the double 6. Dave's dice were much more in the middle. I mean, we both had very similar dice in average, but he had only 1 double 1 on a morale check, and only 1 double 6 on a morale check. So much more tightly fit. But I mean, I don't know what he could have done to stop that. I think this is one of those games where the OBA, if it had been, but I don't think. Are you going to pre-register your hex on the left-hand side? Probably not. I mean, maybe, but a pre-registered hex down there would have been brutal for me. Absolutely would have changed the game. So that's it. So I was looking like I got lucky, but a good game from Dave. He good fun opponent.
Yeah.
So that's that one. Okay, so we've got Rob Oller against Tom Rapetti in this one. Rob is defending. Tom, obviously the Germans attacking. We don't know what anyone's selected yet. So a more central attack from Tom to start with.
Be interested to see what different fortifications Rob selected, and if he placed them differently to your game.
All right, go for it then.
Let's go.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, sorry, cool. I got to do this, haven't I? Okay. So here they go. Oops, this goes very fast, doesn't it? What tank is that?
That's one of the 50Ls.
Yeah, and it's he's obviously taken the group before.
Yep.
And also he's open top there as well. Here we go.
And he's taken we've counted because you can count 6 tanks, so we know he's got the Tigers as well.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. So he's got the high quality and the high number. Yep. So he's still got sort of the lot of the wire over on that left hand side.
So this is interesting. I mean, sending this tank right around the back really quickly. Which is nice and
not the only one either.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he wants this building.
Yes.
I'm gonna speed this up a bit. So not really hardly very very few shots really. A little bit of residual there. People firing from the other building. Yeah. A little bit of smoke. Yeah, so rather like your attack overwhelms the buildings on the left. Yep. This is an attempt to do the same in the centre, isn't it?
Yep.
And I suspect it'll succeed. But he's got some forces going over onto the left-hand side.
Oh, here comes the OBA.
Right. Here comes the OBA. Okay. This is the kind of thing that terrifies me as an ASL player. When things are going well and suddenly, there's the OBA. You've got the OBA right in the middle of your force.
Yeah, that's a pre-registered hex, isn't it? Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're seeing
and there's an anti-tank gun just
look at the rolls here. Look at the rolls. So we've got a double 6 followed by a 6 followed by 11, a 9, a 11. It's, bunch of
that's a nice spot for the anti-tank gun, isn't it?
Where are we looking for the anti-tank gun? Oh, all the way up here. Yeah, on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's got it's an acquisition he's just put on there. Yeah, he's got a -2 acquisition. but he hasn't destroyed it. It's a side shot and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, Russian forces are all broken in that building.
Oh, okay. And he got his intensive fire shot, but didn't take out the.
Yeah. No, he's firing back at the anti-tank gun.
Yeah.
Bless you. He's got some acquisition in that building in R6, hasn't he? Just in the expectation that there will be something there in a minute.
Yeah.
So is he going for getting off? Because there's a lot of fortification of that left-hand group of buildings.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one. Only one. I thought there was two buildings at the top there that were multi-X, but only one up there. If that's.
It looks like there's one of the overlays missing, perhaps.
Yeah, because there was two up there, wasn't there?
I thought there was a stone one up there as well. There was on your map, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he got absolutely overwhelmed. He's absolutely overwhelmed Rob in the centre. But that force over on the left-hand side is still going to be a pain, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what turn we're on now. I'm still on turn 1. I better speed this up. Okay, so it's the German turn 2 again now.
So.
He's found the water.
Was that
overran it looked like. Or
maybe just accidentally gone through, yeah.
Yeah. Stumbled into it, perhaps.
No, because the crew were exposed there, so the crew had a shot at it.
Yeah. Using smoke. So what's that that's just appeared? That's the. There's the small mortar, isn't there, over there that tank's gone to deal with. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not 100% sure what at the moment he's going for. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks like an exit will be.
It looks like an exit, yeah. Especially as there aren't two buildings there. If there were two buildings there, it could be that he was going for that. Russians seem to be popping up all over the place. Okay, and loads of smoke to help the infantry advance. Oh, he's got a couple of good hits. He's got a tank gone up there. Then we've got the Russian tanks coming on now and being blown up.
So he took the faster ones.
Yeah. A bit of a tank duel going on. Looks very balanced at the moment, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I'm not thinking yet. I know he's going to win this. Russian tanks are starting to lose quite a lot of tanks, which I think.
The German tank there's gone.
Yeah.
Tiger gets involved here.
Yeah.
Nothing more desperate than staring down this Tiger intensive firing at the front of it.
Yeah. We got these guys coming on.
This is the.
Even if you're broken in the half track and you go off, you still count for victory points, don't you? I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
So as long as the vehicle survives, if that's what Tom's up to. And there's
I think there's because we got. I think there's missing overlays because I think this one down here.
Yeah.
Is missing there's missing an overlay here as well. So they've got the victory condition marked on it. So.
Yes.
For some reason, we're not seeing the overlays on that.
I'm not quite sure. And actually, I know Richard and Tomo had difficulty with both seeing the overlays at the same time. So it may be that there's some sort of technical glitch.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So presumably there's two up there then. So
of course, Germans are taking as prisoners. Of course, they could be quite valuable if you can get them off.
Yep.
If that's what Tom's going for, but I think he's going for the building control. Oh, okay. He's being very aggressive with the tanks, Rob.
But prisoners don't count double for the.
Okay, they just count for like a squad or whatever. Yeah.
So we're on
On turn
four.
four,
Yeah.
it's the Russian turn 4. So we're about to. So it's turn 5, the last turn.
They've got 5.5, so one extra.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry. No, it's just 5.
Okay.
Just 5.
So we're coming up to the last. Okay, so this must be German turn 5. And is he just turning? Is it just a defensive fireface? Yeah, it's definitely. Must be German turn 5. Well, they've captured one building, haven't they? The one that's not showing clearly, and now they're capturing the other one. Got the flamethrower up there. I struggle ever to get a flamethrower into position to actually be used in a game. So they're just magnets for fire. Yes, I think that's Tom close to the 3 buildings, isn't it? No.
Yep.
Unless there's anything upstairs. Oh, they're encircled. Okay, that's the end of the log file. So
yeah, on a double one as well. The IFT double one
finish. The way to finish.
So yeah, Tom wins that. I assume with the capturing of the top 2 buildings in the middle one.
Yeah.
So well played, Tom, and unlucky Rob. That looked like a sturdy defence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting to see how those buildings on the left-hand side were able to continue to sort of influence the battle, even though they were sort of bypassed. I mean, there are some forces moving in there to sort of. But yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. He also used the fortifications to defend that side. Rob, in a way, had a similar
very
defensive setup.
Yep. The mines and the wire. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we've got Richard Dagnall as the Russians, and the Germans are Tomo Lukari. Tomo joining late on in the tournament, but happy to have him, so no problems there. Let's see what happens here then. So a very interesting.
They had technical problems, didn't they? But in the end, they have got the overlays on, haven't they? Which we couldn't see in the last game.
That's right.
You were going to say, Dave.
Yeah, sorry, I was interested. So with this setup here of the very far left-hand setup, is this teasing the Germans to make a run for it on the right-hand side? And would you be tempted to do that, or are they going to be up a whole bunch of dummies? And actually,
I mean, how many dummies have the Russians got? They got 12.
12.
I mean, it could well be, couldn't it? Could well be, because they can be hip if they're in. There's nothing in the wooden buildings. Well, it could be that the main force is interesting. I mean, is there something in that central building? The moment it looks empty.
I mean, I'd definitely have a think about running up that right-hand side there.
Yeah,
with a setup like that.
Yeah,
because there's nothing from this kind of hex. Where are we here? From like hex row L and to the right, there's nothing there.
And this is late enough in the war; they could just load the infantry onto the vehicles, and just try to drive off. Yeah. Well, but Tomo's not going for that.
No,
is he? So
he's a man who wants to fight it. He wants to fight. All right, then.
Right, should I try and do this faster, or was the last one okay?
You're okay. Cool.
All right. Okay. Right. Here we go. Okay. So he's starting with the infantry. Yeah. Oh, look at all that stuff that turns up. So he's facing very similar situation to you.
There's the 9-2, yeah. Is that with the?
Is that the heavy?
No, just the light.
No, just a light machine gun. Bad enough.
So suggests that rolling a 4, the down 4 as well.
Yeah.
So suggests that he's gone with the OBA if the 9-2s with a light machine gun there.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah. And the 9-2 very far forward there, so there's a risk of losing him quickly. Looks like that central building is not that well defended at the moment, but
we're only counting. What are we counting? We're counting 6 tanks. So
here
comes the
pre-registered hex.
Right. Oh, okay. Off.
But the FFE moves harmlessly away.
Yeah, that's unlucky.
Yeah. I mean, Tom's managed to keep concealment with the stuff that's gone off the centre.
Yeah, that suggests that there's a whole bunch of dummies there, doesn't it? Oh, now your anti-tank gun gets taken out.
Yeah.
Again, facing those tigers is not...
No. Right, yeah, he has got some things in the building, and there's a
Right.
little bit of
But I
shootout
suppose in a
begins.
way that was a little bit lucky that it didn't go on top of the building
Yeah,
for the OBA instead and miss the tanks that way.
that's true, yeah. Yeah, the anti-tank rod gun would have been useful, wouldn't it? Right, you've got mines causing some problems on the left. Yeah, you've got the Germans moving forward quite carefully, throwing smoke grenades.
Yeah, because I mean,
That's
5 turns is not a lot, is it? Really, to
no,
get off that board.
no. But I don't think it may not be the key battle going on over there. I'm not quite sure because you've got these tanks in the centre. I mean that building's holding out though. I mean, it's still. I'm just checking the Russians currently unbroken. Yeah.
This feels like it's one of those scenarios where you can absolutely lose it as the defender in the setup, can't you? You know,
Yes,
if you happen
true.
to, because you don't give a lot away in your setup, if you happen to just defend in the wrong side and the German takes the other side, there's not a lot you can do.
No.
So I do fancy the Germans in this scenario. I know it's very, very balanced, but I think I'd always prefer to take the Germans in this one.
I mean, could you realistically now know what we know about Richard's positions, have just charged up the right-hand side and got off the board?
Yeah, very possibly. I mean,
Is that plausible?
Well, we know that the OBA, so there's no heavy machine gun around. Obviously, one anti-tank gun in the middle would have had an effect.
Yeah.
But if you do what Tomo's done here and just push the tigers up towards it, it's not going to have an effect really. Most likely.
There's Russians popping up in that building. Here come the German tanks, which obviously would have been important if the Germans had just tried to run across.
Right. Yeah,
that's
you're absolutely right.
Side.
Yeah. Yeah, those tanks will. And the mortar would have also caught a few of them as well.
Yeah.
But of course, the exit has to be on this left-hand side. So.
Yes, I am forgetting that. Yeah, that's true.
They'd have to swing around a little bit.
And so anti-tank ditches, which I thought were really expensive at 3 points each, 5 points each. Sorry. So we've got like 1, 2, 3, but actually they really channel the German vehicles.
Yep.
They're only allowed 3 of them, so he's bought the maximum amount of anti-tank ditches. But so I originally thought that was expensive, but actually they're pretty handy.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an open map. It feels like you can always just go around them.
Rich is drawing you into that. I mean, he's got to go into that quarter, hasn't he? The quarter that actually Rich is defending. I know we were thinking at the beginning about how you got to defend the whole board.
Yeah.
Rich has kind of caught on that he doesn't. He only has to defend sort of about a quarter of the board.
Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting. So here come the rest of the Germans.
Yeah, the half tracks.
Yeah, here they come. Now, what are they up to?
Yeah, so this is going to swing around for the buildings, I suppose.
Yeah, and it may be they're not defended.
Yeah.
Yeah, sneaky. Well, they're defended by the tanks, clearly. Having taken those shots, that tank's suddenly very vulnerable to the German tanks, isn't it? It's a really good attack. And ignoring that strong fortified position on the left-hand side of it. I say ignoring it, they've actually, I think there are Germans attacking it. So we're on turn 3. Axis turn 3. I thought that looked kind of a little bit masterful.
Yep.
I would not be expecting that if I was the Russians.
Yeah, it's looking. I mean, the thing is, so the Germans have obviously going to take these 2 buildings, the one in the very north and the centre one. It looks like they're going to struggle on the left-hand side. Potentially is enough there.
Yeah.
Richard's named himself there, the 8-0 leader.
Do you know what that takes? That's the real man only names himself the 8-0. Do you know what I mean? It's us. Those of us with something to prove. You know, we be the 9-2, won't we? You know what I mean?
I'm waiting for the 6-1, the 6+1 guy to float around, and I'll name him.
Right, I'm trying to continue. Right here, we're good. Oh no, I've got to keep it up there, haven't I? Okay. Here we go. Right. Okay. So, so the Germans are powerful, though, aren't they? So there's infantry in that bit. Oh, that's the end of the log file.
Okay, all right. So I guess there's nothing at the top right hand side there.
Yeah.
We've got
There's the 7-0 leader. Obviously, he was controlling the radio. There's obviously no infantry.
we've got one crew up there
Yeah.
up against the Tiger. Yeah, the Tiger's there. So you've got the Tiger and the extra tank up here as well, plus the half tracks all coming in at the top. And you've got the solid capture of the centre building in the bottom.
So that's it. It's almost uncontested to capture those two buildings, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right.
That move, that right hook with the half tracks supported with the tanks, I think was brilliant.
All right. So 3 German wins.
Yeah, for this most balanced of scenarios.
All right. So let's fire up number 4 and see what we can get. Okay. Mike Grogan, Russians against Andy Bagley's Germans. Andy using the SS counters. So the overlays haven't come across on this one either. So we'll try and get to the bottom of that. What's going on there? But anyway, there's extra building up here. There's a building in here that will become apparent at some point. So nicely done with the Fiasco templates application. So
it looks really, really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, kudos for those guys for doing that. All right. Nothing particular about the setup here, is it? It's a little bit more central for the Russians.
Yeah.
And here we go. So I count more than 6 tanks actually for the Germans. So
that's
so maybe I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tanks by the looks of it. All right. So we've got straight away we've got some incoming fire. And now they've got the right hand hook.
Yeah. That's funny. It's the first game we've had where the Germans are going in on that right hand side, which looks weak in every game, doesn't it?
Yep.
They're obviously dummies.
Yeah,
in the woods.
Yeah. So around the Germans come. And this is interesting because they're very unopposed on this right hand flank. So far they're still unconcealed here.
That interesting position of the foxholes. Oh, is that a route? That's a route. Is that a route thing?
Yeah, it could possibly be. Yeah.
Anti-tank gun took out a tank.
And where did that come from? Up here.
Here.
I got it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Nice. But this is one of those tricky ones where do you want to show that where you're right in front of another one.
Yeah. It's always tricky.
Yeah. Advancing fire shots come in, I think. Nothing going on there. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, okay. Wow, he's shocked another one.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a tank gun. Yeah, got the 5 to kill there.
They need a medal, don't they? That crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And actually, the Germans are breaking in front of the central buildings as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we've got some shots coming up from back here as well. So we've got the medium machine gun at the back here.
Yeah. Still not sure whether the heavy or the OBA is.
No, that's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
But it makes you feel good when the game's well in, you haven't had to use those weapons.
Yes, that's very true.
You're still doing okay. Flamethrower crew just got eliminated.
It's the fate of so many flamethrower crews.
Yeah.
We've got some action on the left.
Over on the mortar, it was that was good.
Right,
effective.
Right. Off that tank is risking
Yeah.
risking it against that veteran crew there.
Everything is determined to remove that
Yeah.
threat.
Oh, he turned and he got the
Got the
he
acquisition.
got the acquisition.
It's like 3 tanks all together in a nice little diamond, like nice little triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to get the next shot as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it takes another one and shocks another one.
Jeez.
Wow. Okay.
It's just depressing when that happens to you, isn't it?
Oof.
Well,
Now,
unless you're
now on come the tanks.
and now the tank's coming on. Yeah.
I mean, if you put more wheels on this anti-tank gunner, he can be a good little tank as his. So we've got the 9.2 here with the heavy at the top here.
Okay. Yeah.
So, okay, now it's interesting because you've got 2 buildings that look fairly undefended in the left-hand side here. But it's looking tough for the Germans, isn't it?
Very much so. I mean, even the medium machine gun, which you'd have thought down in the bottom in, why? I know they're there. I thought they'd gone. Oh, he's got these vehicles coming on. Okay, so let's see if it is undefended then. I mean, he's got a good chance of capturing those 2 buildings on the left, isn't he? If there's nothing there.
We're on turn 3. He's only got 2 more turns to.
Yeah, but the reinforcements are coming on.
Right. The
why is it only 1 half track? I thought it was meant to be 3 half tracks.
3 half tracks, yeah.
And they come on turn 3. Only 1. Oh no, perhaps they haven't come on yet. Yeah, there's 2. There's another one in the middle, isn't there?
Right. Yeah, there's one on the left-hand side. That's.
Yeah. No, that's the only one I've noticed.
Oh right.
Yeah. But actually, it's got its work cut out for it. They're not undefended.
The Russians pushing very far forward these days.
It's tough, isn't it, for
the Germans? The Germans feel very spread out here, don't they?
Yeah.
And a mouth.
Well, they DM'd the crew.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's defended the.
Yeah.
On they come, pushing hard. I mean, the Germans are in with a shout here. You got to say.
Yeah.
They've obviously abandoned the idea of getting off the board, which does seem very, very difficult.
So I mean, they're in that central building now. They've got wall advantage.
Yeah, they should capture.
They should capture that.
That one.
The other one, the other 2, they're struggling with, aren't they, a little bit? But they got guys moving in on it.
In they go, close combat.
Yeah.
Close combat. They win the close combat.
Yeah.
Melee in this one. So it's a question of how many.
It's only a half squad. It's only they killed a half squad. There's only 1 Russian half squad in there. Russian tanks coming up to support this.
Yeah, so there's obviously a building here that we can't see. So there may be some hit guys in here as well. And
all that wire is starting to be quite significant now, isn't it, in terms of trying to approach that last building.
That's all right. And we're on turn. Where are we? Turn
4 at the moment.
Turn 4.
Russian turn 4, yeah.
So we've got a guy. Right. So there is a guy upstairs. Oh, this guy's gone upstairs.
Yeah.
The demo charge has been thrown upstairs.
Is that just having that little bit extra to do? And there were guys in the building. Vronin, 8-1.
Oh, the flamethrowers.
Oh, the flamethrower, yeah. So this could be won now by either side, couldn't it?
Yeah. You got a flamethrower next to the victory building.
I'm finding a little bit frustrating not knowing where that building is.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like they've got building number 2.
Yep, that's the demo charge, I assume, has done its job there.
Yeah.
And so we've got in here, we've got the pinned squad 8-1 up against the flamethrower with the heroic leader and the tank. Okay, so we've got some advances.
Mhm.
Oh, the
They're stuck on the wire, aren't they? Some of them.
was that a close combat there? There was a close combat. Oh, they won the ambush and then they they won the ambush and then knocked out the guys here with the
Okay. And the heroic 9-1 with the flamethrower couldn't get in because he was on the wire.
right.
So
And that was
yeah,
it. That was it. That was
that
the
was
end of
it.
the
Very close, wasn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, very close. Yeah, that was the tightest one. So Russian win there.
Do you
Well
know
done.
what? I thought that was just some very good defending there from Mike. But Andy, it takes something to come back from losing 5 tanks like that
Yeah,
and still come back and almost win. You know, that's
incredible. Yeah. That gun crew. The gun
you
crew
have to,
was lost as well.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, interesting game. Interesting game.
yeah, absolutely.
So excellent. Thank you very much, guys. Everybody who
Yeah,
played that one. That
cracking
was
scenario.
yeah, good scenario. Good choice, Martin. Your job now is to choose this semi-final scenario, which you've chosen,
I have indeed.
and we've confirmed I haven't played it. Which is, do you want to tell us what it is?
Yeah, it is second crack at Comont, which is Action Pack 32. If
Okay.
people want to look that up.
Action. Oh yeah. Okay, you're right. Yeah, action
Yeah.
back. Yeah, AP 30. Okay, and you're going to do a draw now for us.
Right now, I've written down the 4 winners' names.
Okay.
Traditional, old school, as they say. So I'll pick the first name, and they'll
Yep.
play whoever I pick second. So the first person whose names come
Show
out
us the
is
piece of paper, Martin. Show us the piece of paper. Show it. Yeah. Do it all officially.
Can you see that?
No,
Mike.
Mike.
That says
Okay.
Mike. Okay, right, Mike, and he's playing. I did these like over an hour ago, so I definitely don't know which is which. Not that I care, anyway. Not like I go, oh, do you know, I'm going to make sure he plays so and so. Mike is playing Tuomo. Now, where I've written Tuomo, that is Tuomo Lucari, because I wrote Tom for the others.
Right.
That's Mike is playing Tuomo.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I don't
here.
need to do the rest, do
Well,
I, really?
show us just in case.
Okay,
Just, you know.
just in case I cheated.
Yeah.
So, Dave
Yes. Home advantage, clearly.
is playing. This had better say Tom, or we got to do this again. Tom. There we are. Dave
Okay.
playing
All right.
Tom.
Good stuff. Okay. We will report back as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And next up is going to be talking about our Patreon giveaway, but I haven't got time right now, so I have to shoot off. So we'll cut. We'll have a wardrobe change, I don't doubt, and we'll be back in our world tomorrow, but in your world just a few seconds later, talking about the Patreon winner. Until then, see you in a second.
See you later.
Well, I'm back, Martin. So that was a disaster. The trains were cancelled. I was stuck 10 miles away from home and had to get Nicole to come and pick me up. So ended up having dinner with her instead, which obviously wasn't a disaster. But it meant that my evening is now, I'm back here with you, just a little bit darker.
Which is sort of disastrous for you.
That's all. So we have a couple of competition entries for the guys to submit as a game log. What we want to do is we want to take that game log and we want to play the same scenario as that has been submitted. And we've had 2 entries. We've had one from Andy Bagley and one from Joe Arthur. So they're both patrons. So what we will do is just do a 50-50 roll off. So Martin, and you're the random.org man for all this.
So on random.org, I have a minimum number 1 and a maximum number of 2. And we are going to assign Andy with a number 1.
Yep.
And Joe with a number 2.
And this is
because it's off alphabetical order by first name.
Yep.
Yeah. And the number that comes out will tell us which person whose scenario we've selected.
That's right, exactly that. And we'll play that scenario next as well.
We'll play that scenario next.
Yes, as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
right, you ready?
Give us a random.org go.
Here we go. 2.
Joe Arthur. Okay, Joe, congratulations. We have a pack. Andy, we will set you up with something, I'm sure, when so we'll go through your scenario as well. So I will tell you now that Joe has sent us a couple of scenario replays. And which ones did he send us? Let's have a quick look again. So he sent us.
We're very slick tonight, aren't we? Now this is like people won't even notice that it's seamless.
That's right. So as I was mentioning, it's Yankee Pride, Sure Funk 204. He sent us a couple of games of that. And I'm also looking forward to it because he's played 2 games against Tony Gibson. And he says that Tony has terrible dice. I've played Tony, and I can confirm that Tony has terrible dice. Tony should charge people to play him because I think there is money to be made if you rock up at someone's house and just roll bad dice. A bit like, I don't like a very high class escort, but in ASL terms. And hear me out.
Yeah,
you're
listening. Yeah.
You're paying for pleasure. Okay, not that someone sells this.
Bizarre image I just had of Tony Gibson, but
but
listen, on with your analogy.
How much would you pay someone to turn up at your house and play
And lose
play good
ASL.
play good ASL, but roll terrible dice, and for you to get and that's the service they offer. Now I think
to be fair, I don't need that. I've got you.
that's true. You get it for free, but if there's a service offered like that, I mean, that's a
Do you
good.
know, you're having a bad day at work, or you have an argument with the missus, something like, yeah, Tony, I'm 100 quid. Yeah, come on over. We'll have a game.
I think
you can have the balance, Tony.
Again, yeah. Don't be telling it. If you lose though, that would be quite awkward, wouldn't it? Like you've rocked up with your perfect opponent. But yeah, I'm sure there's a few.
I can't believe we found a new career for Tony. Brilliant.
Tony is also very, very good at his wines. We'll tell you all about wines. Now, I was really interested in getting more into wines, and he's a great person for knowing all about them and giving me advice about who to speak to. I now, after my COVID, which was a year and a half ago, I can't tell the difference between wine and Ribena. I mean, it was never great before, but now my ability to distinguish between good and bad wines, which is great because it means I can just order cheap wine and it tastes.
Well, you can enjoy Ribena, can't you, in the most expensive restaurants?
Exactly. Right. So what we would do is we will play Yankee Pride next time.
Yeah.
And then we haven't looked at the replays that Joe sent us. Joe, we are going to send you a copy of the Hasmo 3 pack. So congratulations for that. I will take out a small bank loan for that, and see if we can stretch that one. So congratulations. Andy will sort something out for you as well when we come around to do your ones. It's now, though, onto the challenge of finding the best ASL pack.
Wow.
So we have some challenges, some tricky ones this time. Yeah. So the first one we're going to talk about is for King and Country.
Well, should we talk about the one from the 2 from last week first? We just remind people of the.
Right, we can do that. We didn't put the question out to, so I will put the question out, which is whether it's the action packs or it's Croix de Guerre second edition. So that's the question that's still going to come up. Okay. And I will put a poll up for that one.
Yeah.
But more importantly, so we're going to carry on regardless, basically, because we can.
Yeah.
So for King and Country, and this is the second edition, King and Country, versus I think it's just for King and Country. I think the first and second printing is the same, and it's up against Hakapale. So again, we're not assuming that you only get you don't get the British if you don't think this is the best module. You don't get the Finnish if you don't think the Hakapale. It's more as a bundle, scenarios as a pack. So as it stands, you're only getting only 17 scenarios from Hakapale, and you're picking up 20 from the For King and Country pack. Now you mentioned this as we were just talking about this, that the King Country scenarios, they're not standout scenarios, are they? They're not any, I think, that are.
I think it's 2 halves, isn't it, for King and Country in terms of scenarios. So the first half are from the very early days of ASL, and I think we've played most of them actually, or certainly quite a few of them, one way or another.
Yep.
And I think, generally speaking, I don't think we think of them as awesome scenarios.
That's right. Yeah.
And then there's the second half, I pretty much from sort of like Point of the Sword from 102 up to 110 North Bank. I think I've actually played every single one of those. They're quite small in size,
Right. Yep.
I think, but I think I think it's like going to church. Everyone's played that, haven't
Yeah.
they?
That's right.
It's quite. A lot of them are kind of a little bit almost newbie orientated, actually.
Yeah.
But I think they're all good scenarios.
That's true. Hill of
Yeah,
Death is a big one. Hill of Death is
Hill of Death is bigger.
is the
Yeah,
large one in there. And you're right in terms of the earlier ones are not, they're not great. They're okay scenarios, I think. I think that probably the standout one there may be Tavarontis' Bridge. I think that's probably the one that would say is perhaps. I think that and the Crux of Calais as well is another scenario, but definitely Tavarontis' Bridge. I think is the standout one from a rating point of view, is in the highest rating scenario.
yeah.
In terms of balance, those scenarios are not particularly balanced. The first set from King and Country, so
Yeah.
there are certainly some that are 80% pro-German, 80% pro-British, 74% pro-British, 71% German. So there are some fairly unbalanced scenarios. Definitely the last 10, the new 10, are definitely much better in terms of balance. It's really only Guards Attack that is not particularly balanced in that set. The rest are pretty much balanced. It's an interesting set in terms of, I think, like you say, nothing stands out, but they're all solid scenarios. I think it's probably what I'd say. They're solid scenarios. I wouldn't be rushing out to be playing any of these. Really, they're not really on my playlist of scenarios that I'd look
Quite a few of them are on that. That list of, I think it's 6 scenarios that there's a little campaign for.
at. Okay.
It's all to do with Arnhem and Operation Market Garden. North Bank is on that. Drill Team is on that,
Yep. Yep.
and there might even be another one or two.
Right.
And maybe Kangaroo Hop. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
There's some interesting vehicles as well, isn't there? Like kangaroos and things like that, which you don't often see. Although we played them on Illuminating rounds, I think.
Yes, we did. Yeah, that was that was that Watchtower or the other
Very
one?
early days. That's the second time we. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that, and then
Yeah.
comparing that with Hackapale. Now, Hackapale, I think we've got the challenge of. I've not gone back to Hackapale after we did our original playtesting for the module. So I think
I'm the same. I think there's reasons for that. I think when this came out, we were busy doing other things in our lives.
Yeah, and we playtested a fair bit of this as well. So I think we'd had a feel of it,
a taste of it. Yeah.
The scenario is definitely on the bigger side, I think, in terms of for Hackapale.
Yeah.
Some massive ones on there. I mean, there's one that was it retaking the VKT line, absolutely massive, and unfortunately not particularly highly rated either. So it's there are better scenarios in the pack, and I would look at things like Hunters at Yilma. I'll obviously butcher the pronunciations of that, and Forest Bastion. I think are the kind of the highest rated ones. Definitely, these are the majority of them are all day scenarios. I think that's probably fine. They're not really, which I don't mind, and I think that's probably what I'd like to see out of core modules is all day scenarios. And I think let the journal and the third parties give you the tournament scenarios around it. I think having a really meaty scenario is something you can get your teeth into. I think is the place for core scenario for core packs. Having said that, 3 night scenarios in the pack. We've played night, and I think every time we play it, we always think it's not as bad as it was. We thought it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in many ways, it's sometimes a little bit easier with the route rules and stuff like that, which are very straightforward. I think if I had to say, and I think the best way of doing this for me is to say, okay, if I was going to take the pack on holiday and just play the scenarios from this, I think I would still go for King and Country, but only I think because I think when you've got the Russian-Finnish war, the scenarios tend to feel quite samey, and that maybe is unfair, but they're not generally in very built-up areas. Obviously, things like fighting withdrawals, classic exception. But I seem to remember there being a lot of kind of the forests, the pine woods, and things like that. And I mean, yeah, I think I would go for King and Country, but close call, I think, for me. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's quite a close call. I mean, if you just look at it statistically, for King and Country on the archive anyway, has a higher, although only slightly higher rating if you look at the
Yeah.
average between
Yep.
the scenarios. And it is much better balanced statistically, just
Yep.
looking at the recordings here. And obviously,
Yep.
it's always just the recordings here. I think from that point of view, I sort of lean towards for King and Country. But in the on the other side, I do think that Hakapai brings some variety in as much as, you know, you've got lots of snow, haven't you? You've got
Yep.
ski troops, and you've got the prepared fire zones, and I do think it has a different kind of like sort of flavour to other parts of the Eastern Front, if you like.
Yep.
But overall, I would go the same as you. I would vote for King and Country, but I don't think it's a walkover.
I agree. They had those. I can't remember what they were called now. Akidos or something.
Yes, that's right.
You know which one to think of?
I don't think they're called Akidos, but I know exactly what you mean. To carry the guns on, isn't it? It's a little sledge, isn't it? A little sort of sledgy thing.
Exactly that. And for anyone that likes the game Men of War, and there's Men of War Assault Squad, there's an expansion for the latest one, I think, with a finish in it, which is actually quite good to play. It's a very micromanagement heavy game, but it's quite a good little game. And the Finnish star in that expansion. So both good packs, and I think I think happy to see either go through, but we'll push for King Country. Okay, so next up on the testing is Armies of Oblivion versus Beyond Valor 3rd Edition. Now, this is also quite tricky. Armies of Oblivion 2nd Edition is the one we're looking at. There's an awful lot of scenarios in Armies of Oblivion 2nd Edition. 32 scenarios, which is amazing, really. And I know a lot of these were reprinted, and you know they've come from either Partisan or they've come from bits and pieces, wherever they've come from. But it's pretty impressive to have that number of scenarios. And this is one of those things. The scenarios as well, I think, are a little bit more complex than the Beyond Valor scenarios. There's a little bit more to them. Having said that, they are fairly I was going to say fairly on the small side. The newer ones they've added are definitely smaller. The ones in that midsection, which definitely came, and these ones I'm looking at things like New Kind of Foe, Balkan Sideshow, the Sixth Blow, with Tigers on their Tails. These are very, very big scenarios. Downsize the Uprising, Ancient Feud, Return to Sender, End Station Budapest. I mean, absolute full-day scenarios, and that's a great thing when these scenarios are, balanced. Now, having said that, there are definitely some scenarios on here that are not so balanced. And so, for example, we're looking at Return to Sender, which isn't balanced at all, really. Very pro-German. We're looking at Downsizing the Uprising. Again, pro-German.
It's 100%, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pro-Russian on quite a few planes.
Yeah. Now, wait. Hang on a second. That's not okay. That's not quite right, and I can explain the reason why it's not right.
Okay.
Because the balance is taken from the current scenario rather than the previous planes of the scenario. If there have been just one scenario from the so perhaps disregard what we've just said there about the balance there, fellows, because to be fair, the scenario I'm exactly looking at there, which is downsizing the Uprising, is actually on Raw. It's 12-13, so very, very good balance. I need to make sure that when I'm looking at the balance for the balance calculation, I'm looking at the previous versions of the scenarios as well. So I need to do that. So don't necessarily. So
the most recent version might only have been played once.
That's right.
But it's counting all of the playings of all three versions or two versions, whatever.
That's right, in the total, but not in the balance calculation. So I need to just tweak that. So I will do that. Yeah. So I'll do that. And so to be fair, we need to clarify that on all the balance questions. Having said that, we've not played a lot of these, and I wonder whether it's just the size of them being so big.
Some of the ones from Partisan were never that popular, were they? I mean, Globus Raid. Do you remember that? If you set up this wire everywhere, I don't
Right.
Subterranean Quarry is a very strange one. Have you ever played that?
That's the one with the
Where the
roads
road,
being the tunnels or something.
it's a tunnel, yes, a sewage on this. So
Mm,
they're quite unusual scenarios. I don't know that they've ever been very popular. I might be wrong.
right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it? So, I looking at the Beyond Valor stuff, I think there's definitely more what I would consider to be more classic scenarios, and
mm,
you know, if I now that's obviously because it's been out longer, and so we're more used to
sure.
those scenarios. But I mean, I would argue that Fight Withdrawal, Commissar's House, Red Packets, Fugitives, To the Square, Citadel, probably Hill 253.5, Act of Defiance, Agony of Doom for wrong reasons because of the balance previously for that. But those are classic kind of scenarios that we would have heard of and you know have good recollections of playing.
Mm,
So for that reason, my vote's Beyond Valor. But average rating of the scenarios 6.73
mm,
versus Armies of Oblivion 6.68. So very, very similar.
yeah.
276 hours of play time for Armies of Oblivion, and 213 hours of goodness in Beyond Valor Third Edition. So
Oh,
amazing, really,
yeah.
in terms of if you were to play each one just once.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go Beyond Valor.
Okay.
What's your
So,
thoughts?
so I mean, there are some very good scenarios that I've played from Armies of Oblivion. Of course, you're always limited by the fact that you haven't played them all or anything like all of them. But I remember Mountain Hunters. I remember really enjoying that. I thought that was a very good scenario. Um, I think Prelude to Dying. I think we've played
Yeah,
Prelude to Dying. Actually, maybe not. Maybe not. So there are definitely some good ones. I think I've got to go with Beyond Valor, though. I mean, there's so many. I don't know how many times I've enjoyed playing Fighting Withdrawal.
yeah,
To the Square was, in fact, the first game we ever
yeah,
played.
yeah. We had a great go of it.
Bizarrely, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, I think it's got to be Valor of the Guards
yeah.
third edition.
Beyond Valor, Beyond Valor.
Beyond Valor. I'm so sorry. I always get those two muddled up. Beyond Valor third edition. Yeah.
All right. So, okay, the third and final one is going to be too difficult for us to call itself.
Yeah.
And so this is the classic one. This is the War of the Titans, really. Valor of the Guards or Red Barricades. Now, we are literally playing a scenario that has a bunch of it's actually on the Valor of the Guards map, isn't it? So this is with the gutted factories and the rail cars. I was a little bit frustrated with the Valor of the Guards rules for gutted factories. I couldn't figure that out at all, and it seems to be strange. There's the station about whether it's gutted or not. It seems like it's not. All the internet searches I didn't quite answer the question properly, or try to answer the question, then followed a dead link, or even Tom Morin's replied and he has kind of misanswered the question, which was I was like I had the question there and the answer just doesn't quite make sense. So I mean, I think actually Chuck kind of clarified the station because it's got the pictures of the gutted factory on it, but then it talks about the exception being factories that can't be gutted. So it's kind of hard to know whether it's a gutted factory or not. Anyway, having said that, we've struggled a bit with the rules, haven't we? In terms of not that they're too complex, but debris, wrecked, is gutted rail cars.
Yeah,
Rail
there's two
cars.
things that can happen to rail cars, isn't there? They can be gutted or they can be wrecked, isn't it? Is that the word? I can't remember the word they use. One is
That's it.
gutted and one is probably wrecked.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And yeah, one's
Yeah.
debris and one's is it
Rubble, I
rubble.
think, basically.
Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of that bits and pieces going on. Then you've got the walls, which I know are in other bits and pieces as well. But you've got the factory, you've got the walls in the rubble, which kind of add a little bit of complexity to it as well.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like probably to be fair to either of them, but more so with Valor of the Guards. I think the criticism I've got with it, and it is unfair, so don't think there's anything other more than just me spilling this out, is that we can't just sit down and play a scenario in Valor of the Guards without checking almost 3 or 4 different hex types to figure out what are we doing here. Okay, yeah, here the white dots mean rooftop access. This one means because it's a bigger building.
This one's got a cellar. Yeah.
Yeah, all those bits and pieces, which just from an ease point, just jumping into it
You see, I don't mind if I know, for example, that we're, I don't know, meeting up on a week Saturday, and I got time to kind of like refresh my memory about the rules. I'm happy as at them. It's brilliant. I quite enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
But if me and you kind of meet at 10 in the morning and we just want to get on with it, then it's quite hard work, isn't it? It's quite a bit of an obstacle to play.
Right.
And I think that's pretty. I guess that's what we just need to remember that. I think really, isn't it? It's, yeah.
So I think we'll push it to a vote and let the public decide the better module for that one. I think that's the only fair thing to do.
I think there's dangers of heresy here. I mean, you've got to be careful what you say. I think you could touch nerves. People start saying, "Oh, I don't like red barricades" or something. It's like
next week, you and I are going to have a discussion about the IIFT and the IFT, and the reason why we're going to do this is because I know it's a fractious topic, and I know no one will ever agree, and that's fine. But it does come up, and I can understand why it comes up, because new players, when you come up to the game, see these two different charts. And it's exactly, if you and me picked up, I don't know, Flames of War or A World at War or something like that, and there was two alternate charts, and you just looked at these two, and there was two, you would say to people, well, which one do I use? I think it's a fair question. And it never gives you, there's never going to be an answer. There's never going to be the right answer. It's always going to be depending on either your personal preference or your play group or who taught you the game or whether or not you've played it from squad leader or whatever it might be. But I do think that we should have a bit of a chat about it. And that kind of brings us up to the other thing I want to talk about, which is what we're going to do for patrons, which is when it gets a little bit colder, you and I are going to have a fireside chat. And we're going to do, it's just going to be no more than half an hour. Maybe there'll be more. But you and I are sitting there with a glass of something in front of the fire. You have a nice fire that we're going to stoke up. We're going to have a chat. And that's all it's going to be, an ASL chat related. And we'll put it just for patrons.
And that's a very good idea. Yeah.
So
what are we going to talk about then?
Well, we'll figure that out. Maybe patrons can give some ideas.
They're welcome to.
But that's that. The other question I could ask you is, because I'm assuming that's a question like, do you want to do the fireside chat, is your tabletop talk number 4, which is the Japanese scenario, is being requested. You've got some ideas about that. Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, sure. No, so I mean, I started to do this a year ago in the school summer holidays, and I even recorded the first turn or two. So I've got lots of footage, but I've got to finish it off. And really, I went back to work. I thought, so I was going back to work part-time. I thought I'd be able to do it very easily, but actually it's quite difficult with, my mum not being well and stuff like that. But I'm going to complete that in September, and it will be live in September at some point. So we've got another 10 days, I think, maybe 11,
deadlines.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, deadlines.
I'll sit down and crack on with it. It won't take that long, but it will be out, and that's a sort of simple explanation of the Pacific rules, the PTO rules, and a simple explanation of the Japanese. The scenario shows them on the defence, so there won't be a banzai or anything like that, but it'll certainly you'll be able to see things like the way they step reduce, etc. So so that's something for people to look forward to.
And I heard that a very prestigious designer submitted that scenario to you.
No, I don't think he's particularly highly thought of. So you designed 2 of the scenarios for the Packer 4, didn't you?
Yes.
And I designed 2.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey was the designer of the outstanding PTO scenario.
So we got that. Now you're thinking about doing some more scenarios as well, and we might put a pack together. And obviously we'll sort patrons out for that as well to make sure that they get that, but there may be some news about that. So
I found the whole thing of designing scenarios way more difficult and complex than I thought it was going to be, and I think it's fair to say I kind of failed really with my last attempt. So I'm kind of aware of some of the mistakes I've made, and I'm going to give it another go, and we'll see what we can come up with.
Which one do you think you failed on?
I didn't like that one that was in Norway, the St. George one. In the end, there were just too many difficulties, and people started play testing it. There were it was just so difficult to kind of like resolve some of the problems with it, and I think really it was a flaw in its original design. So and it comes out when when it's being played, it's not obvious looking at the card.
Right.
So I've got had a fresh sort of look at the whole thing. Began really just this week. So
Nice.
hopefully a little pack will come up.
Did we do anything with that scenario? What happened to that scenario? Did it go anywhere? Or was it
No,
just
I've still got it. It still exists, but we never.
Well, we can.
Never
Okay.
published.
Well, here's what we should do: is we should refine that a little bit. I don't think it was terrible. I think because Toby had a good look at it as well. I think it was refinable. I don't think it was. I don't think it was. I think you'll be in.
Well, we can certainly have a look at that and refine it, and it can go into that pack.
Yeah.
And what I'm thinking about doing actually is possibly making some short videos to support people who are new, because we've had the tabletop talks. People coming into the hobby and say one of these scenarios has demolition charges in it or something like that, and maybe there's another rule, maybe there's a trench or something like that, and maybe just having a little video that goes along with it, which obviously wouldn't be for most players, but for new people, it would be kind of just to help them through perhaps some of the more complex rules as when they come across them for the first time. That's just an idea I had. I'm not sure whether I'll do it or not, but that's an idea. So I was thinking about in some places actually having some. Perhaps doing a few esoteric things really that people wouldn't have come across the rules for.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
Glider landings and paradrops. There's all sorts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. All right then. Well, that's excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
I think that's it.
You're done.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
All right. Well, okay. So until next time, which will be soon, because we've got the next game ready to upload and to talk about. So presumably next week will be the next one will come out. And big thanks to Joe and to Andy for the games. We will start to play Yankee Pride on that, and obviously we're 10 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers. So thank you to Craig, Ben, and others that subscribed finally to push us to 1,000. So thank you guys. Thanks to all our Patreons as well for your support. We really appreciate that as well. We are signing ourselves up for the Blackpool tournament that Martin and I assume Simon perhaps are organising. So we're excited about that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going on Wednesday, the first time in many, many years.
Yeah.
I'll be there from Wednesday till Sunday, non-stop. I'm going to stop off on the way in Nottingham to see my son, who used to be at university.
Yeah.
It's a whole week away. Looking forward to it.
I'm going
more the ASL bit than the sort of seeing Owen at university.
My daughter's gone the wrong way, so Alice has now gone to Southampton. So I'm it's south before north, so I can't. Yeah,
selfish, just selfish.
Exactly.
That's where she wanted to go. Yeah.
All right, Martin. Well, I'll leave you on that one. Thank you very much, and
cheerio, everyone.
see you soon. Cheers then.
Bye-bye.
Bye.